So I'm going to get going. Yeah, my name's Daniel Turner. I'm a qualitative researcher by trade. I did my PhD in qualitative methods, looking at people living with HIV/AIDS in Southern Africa and Botswana. And then I went on to do a couple of postdocs, which are looking at health inequalities yeah, particularly kind of institutional racism in the English NHS. And kind of a result of that, I was really keen on kind of participatory qualitative analysis, but there wasn't really a tool that would allow people to do that. So I dropped out of academia, started Quirkos as a software company with the aim to make a tool for doing qualitative analysis that was so simple, you could have research participants use it. So you could do an hour-long session with them and they could, be exploring the data themselves, and you could do things like getting them to be like more fully engaged in the research process, and also kind of participant-led research. So these are still some of my kind of research interests. I love reading all that kind of stuff. It kind of grew from there because the people using it loved it so much. So it became more a kind of full qualitative tool, not just for participatory research, but we've tried to keep it very pure ethos. So I just always describe it as like a pure qualitative tool. It doesn't try and do mixed methods. It doesn't try and do any big data analysis. It's designed really to work best with what I think is the kind of typical qualitative project, like a small number of in-depth qualitative sources. At the moment, it only really works with text and images, so can't directly work with audio and video. Although, as I'm going to mention later, we are launching a automated transcription service, which it's a bit unique in that I think it's going to be the first that will be end-to-end encrypted. So that means that the audio file is actually encrypted before it goes anywhere off your computer, and it goes to only our servers. It's not shared with any third party. We don't have access to the data ourselves. It all happens in secret, and then it's sent back as an encrypted file, and you need your password again to open it. So we think it's probably the most secure way to work with audio and video to get transcripts, which is super important for, our users are often doing very confidential topics. And when you're working with audio data, it's not anonymized yet. So it's going to be an interesting development. It's something a lot of people have been asking for. I think a lot of people still want to transcribe their own data. I'm a big fan of using transcription to kind of get more used to your data and more in depth to your data. But that'll be a fun option anyway. But today I'm just going to show you around Quirkos Web, which is our version of Quirkos that works entirely in the browser. We do have a version that works offline as a desktop app as well, which you can install on Windows, Mac, and Linux. But more and more people are using the web app, because at the moment it does kind of 90% of what the desktop app does, and it should be about 110% by the end of the year. But it means you don't have to install anything. It also works on phones and tablets and iPads, basically anything that has a browser and an internet connection, although it does require an internet connection. So yeah, I don't know if any of you were at the plenary yesterday, but I was talking about how accessibility has always been a very core aim for us. So we try and make it accessible in terms of it's easy to use and very quick to learn. Also accessible in terms of price. It's about half the price of the other big qualitative analysis software packages, but also accessible we're going to keep an offline version. We're going to keep supporting people in communities who don't have access to the internet. So we're going to keep the offline version for a while. But I'll just show you around today. So I'm just going to share my screen. And the right one. Okay, how's that look for everyone? Oh, it's hidden my chat. Oh, I hate when it does that. Okay, I got a thumbs up. Thank you, Angelica. That's awesome. Okay, good. Great. So if you want to try Quirkos, there's a 14-day free trial of both the offline and the online version I'm going to demonstrate today. And you can download that straight from our website, or you can just sign up if you want to go straight into the web app. And it's exactly the same as the paid version. There's no restrictions or limitations. So unlimited number of projects, unlimited collaboration as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. One of the other things I do want to highlight is that I don't know if anybody came along to the talk that Kathy Gibbons, who's in the audience, gave on Friday. Wait, no, where are we now? Thursday. We also have developed, well, we actually have a bunch of example projects that we use for teaching and learning. And they don't have to be just for Quirkos. If you're just learning qualitative analysis for the first time, you want to teach qualitative analysis, these are super useful resources. They have transcripts, they have examples of coded data. But a big thing with this, the Qual project now, is that, so this is a research project that Kathy Gibbons led on, and we're trying to kind of give all the nuts and bolts. So we called it the opening the black box. So all the different things that you normally don't get to see as a research project from the paper. So we've got the ethics guides, we've got the consent forms, we've got field notes, we've got, yes, the transcripts of the data, but also examples of different passes through trying to analyze the data. So it's a really useful resource for teaching and learning. The project itself is actually a little bit meta. It's actually interviewing people who are qualitative researchers themselves, and talking about their kind of careers and their journey through academia, and yeah, some of the issues, and a lot of it's about kind of belonging to a qualitative field, qualitative dysphoria, how we want to describe it. So you can download that whole archive, which is what I'm going to use today. I'm aware the way my screen sharing, I can't show you the files as well, but I'm just basically going to extract everything here, and then we'll be able to work with that project today. So whenever you want to start working with Quirkos, you can log in on any device, and this includes a phone, just by going to www.quirkos.com/web. And that's all there is to it. So good, I've got the chat open now, so if you've got any questions, you can ask me. So I'm going to log in with my account. Great. And so here I've got a list of all the projects that I've used before. To make this a bit bigger. Okay. So to open one of the projects that I've worked on before, here's the Qualitative Researcher Journey project. You just click on that and it opens up, and now we can start working with it. I'm going to take you kind of step by step today, working through creating a new project, bringing in data, doing some of the basic kind of ways that you want to kind of order your data and manage your data, some of the tools in Quirkos to help code and analyze the data, and then some of the exports and other ways that you can look at the data. So I'm going to go back to my project page here. I'm going to create a new project, and we'll call this TQR workshop. There's an option here to password protect the project. We do always recommend people do that as long as you're good at remembering passwords. This, again, encrypts the whole project end to end. So even we can't access the data. Nobody can have access to it without that password. And if you're working with confidential data, it's a really good idea. I'm not going to password protect it now because it's just an example project. Okay, so we'll just click on create. And this is basically the layout of Quirkos now. So it's split in kind of two sides. So on the left side of the screen, this is what we generally call the canvas area. And this is where we create bubbles which represent codes and themes and ideas that we have for interpreting the data. And on the right side of the screen, this is where we show the text that we brought into the data. So what I'm going to do to start with is click on the menu here, add sources, and then I'm going to click on the import button here. Click on import, and then we'll bring on downloads. Oh, I think it's documents, sorry. I'm gonna have to search for it. Maybe I did put it in downloads. Sorry. There we go. Qualitative research in Edinburgh. Great. And then I'm going to go to the transcripts. So these are my sources of data. So what I have here, I'm not sure if you're able to see the pop-up, but if you can't, I'm just looking at the file upload dialog. So I'm just selecting from my computer some text files that I want to bring in. These are Word files. Yeah, I'm just going to bring in all of them. You can also bring in PDFs and plain text files, rich text files. And if you have data which is in CSV format, so spreadsheet data, tabulated data, you can bring that in as well. I'm just going to click on open, bring those in. Pop, 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 pop. Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, great. Yeah, 7. So we managed to import seven sources. So now that data has been copied into our project. So Quirkos copies that data in. So it's a copy of the original. But everything is integrated into that kind of one project. So here we're looking at Danny, Sociology of Health. You'll see here there are tabs. These tabs on the left here allow you to easily kind of hop between the different sources in your project. And we'll look at some other ways to kind of go through at the moment. I guess we might as well start with Bruce. Actually, I'm just going to make the text size a bit bigger because I think it's going to be easier while I'm streaming. So I'm just going to go to settings. And then in here, there's lots of settings to change the layout. And yeah, one of the important things here is, yes, the font size. So good. So now I've brought in my sources of data. What I kind of want to do is give some meta information about them. So categorize them in different ways and attach other things that I know about these data. Basically, in this case, actually kind of demographics. And I do that with the little cog button, which is at the top right. This is called properties in Quirkos. In Vivo or other software, it might be called attributes or folders. But the properties in Quirkos are a very flexible way to categorize and group your sources together in an ad hoc way, as many different ways as you like. So I'm going to add a new property in here, which I'm going to call age. And we'll put in a new value, 35. Right, so now we've said that there's a new property which goes across all the sources called age, and this person, Bruce, is 35 years old. So we'll select 35 for them, we'll click save. And so now we know that person is 35, but there's no limit to the number of properties that we can add, and they can be lots of different things. So they could be text, they could be numbers, they could be even kind of long notes or comments as well. So location would be another obvious one here, and we'll create some new values here. So this data set has people from England, from Scotland, and from Australia. So we'll save those. And now for our source, we can choose where this person comes from. I can't remember. I think Bruce is from Australia. Anyway, the other properties that we might have might be the type of data. So if this transcript comes from an interview or a focus group, or if it's literature, it's very easy to bring in literature as well into your data set and analyze it together with your own primary data. And of course, any secondary data that you have, or your own comments and field notes, you can bring those in as properties and sources. And as long as you have a property which describes the different types of data you have, you can filter and sort them anytime in the future. And I'll show you how we do that in a little bit. So I'm going to click on the save button here. So now we know that Bruce is 35 and comes from Australia. And if we wanted to do that for Matilda, it's the same process, although we've already entered that data. So we already have age. Okay, she's going to have a different age. So we'll put in 45. But the location, I think Matilda's going to be from England. I can't remember again off the top of my head. Great. So the properties are a very useful way to kind of categorize and group. You don't just have to use them for that kind of demographic data, but it's a good way, especially when you have kind of larger sources of data, to bring everything together, especially if you have multiple sources of data from the same person. You can link them together with a property. So now I'm going to read through the text, and I'm going to start coding. So I guess in this kind of approach, I'm going to take a basic kind of grounded theory thematic analysis approach. I'm not going to do kind of framework or a priori coding. I don't have any ideas ahead of time about what might be good to go in there. So I'm just going to go with, I'm just going to start reading through. I'm going to create some codes on the fly. So the respondent, so we've got interviewer and respondent here, int and res. No, I guess I've been in academia to varying degrees most of my professional life. It's the odd few years where I've worked outside of education institutions that have really been sort of quasi-academic abilities, I guess, as far as pursuing activities of doing universities, you know, research and development, I guess, application. Okay, I remember this interview now. This is someone, one of these people that like, yeah, very long sentences. Anyways, I'm going to split up the sentence a little bit. Now, I guess been in academia to varying degrees most of my professional life. Okay, so I've already got a theme, which is academia. So I'm going to select this text here and say it's about academia. I'm going to drag and drop it anywhere onto the canvas here. And that will create a new code, which we call quirks in Quirkos. We can just call them codes. And I'm going to call this academia. There's a place here for a description if you want to describe what you mean by that. So university, do you mean college? So you may want to be more specific, especially if you're coding with other people, what you mean by that, have a longer description. You can also choose a color for the code. If you don't like the ones there, there's 16 million other colors that you can choose from. Let's not do a blue on a blue background. How about green? I always like green. Good. So what you'll see now is we've created a code, which is represented by this bubble called academia. And this piece of text here has been assigned to it. And in this coding stripe to the left, we've got this green strip. If we hover the mouse over it, it tells us that code is academia. So this piece of text has been coded to academia. But Bruce is also talking about something else, and that is drag this text to the canvas again, somewhere else. We'll call this professional life. Again, we could have a long description here. I'll go for light blue. Okay, so what you can see is we can assign one piece of text to more than one code. In fact, as many codes as we like. We now know that this piece of text is about academia. It's also about professional life. So we can read a little bit further. When I've worked outside of educational institutions, it's really been sort of quasi-academic capabilities, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to say, just for the sake of argument here, that this is also about academia. So I'm going to drag and drop this text onto the academia bubble. And what you'll see now is the academia bubble is now actually a bit bigger than professional life bubble. So in Quirkos, when you add text to one of the codes, it grows a little bit each time. And what that means is it's just giving you, there's not a number shown by default. It just gives you a kind of sense of what's emerging from the data, or at least what kind of codes you're using the most. And that can be very useful. But this is also talking about something else. So this is talking about outside of academia. I'm not quite sure really how to kind of conceptualize that at the moment. So I'm going to say outside of academia. It's not quite an in vivo code. That's not quite the phrase he's using. We could say like other careers, other professions, other spaces. But for now, let's call that outside academia. So you can see now this piece of text has been coded to be outside academia and about academia as well, because he's still saying that he's doing academic capacities. So that's how I've chosen to interpret this here. Now, this outside academia code, I mean, one of the things that always happens is you change your mind about what the code is. I already don't like the phrase outside academia. So we might call that, especially as we go on and more people are talking about their other jobs as well, we may say, let's call it non-university, work. That might actually be worse, but it doesn't matter. So by right-clicking on these bubbles at any time, we can edit them. So we can change the color, we can change the description, we can change the name. You'll see we've also got some other options here, merge, so we can merge codes together, which is a thing that's, again, very common. We get to a stage where maybe professional life is actually people only talking about their professions outside of academia. So we might decide that we need to merge those codes later. So we can do that with the merge option here. There's also delete, so we can remove a code that we don't need. The top two options here, overview and overlap. Just going to show the overview for now. That's basically, you get the same if you double click on a code. And if I double click on this code here, it shows all the text that's under it, where it comes from. So this is everything we coded to academia, and they both come from Bruce's source. And if we click here, it will take us back to that place in the source. But also in this view, you'll see that there's little tick boxes here and copy boxes. So one of the key things about Quirkos is we try and make it really easy to do the writing up afterwards. So when you get to the stage where you want to be talking about your data, writing, a thesis, a dissertation, a paper, or a presentation, or whatever, ticking everywhere you see quotes. Quirkos is designed to try and keep you close to the data. And everywhere you see quotes, you can copy them like this, and paste them into Word or something else. Again, the way I'm doing a screen share, I can't show you that at the moment, I'm afraid, but if you have Word open, you'll be able to copy and paste those right in there. Actually, I could do that with Google Sheets, actually, couldn't I? Yeah, let's do that. Start a new blank document. Google Sheets, paste. Yeah, great, there we go. So we get those two quotes that we selected, and it comes with the attribution as well. So it shows us which source we came from. I should probably remove the docx file from there. Anyway, so everywhere in Quirkos, all the views I'm going to show you, you can do that. And it's designed to make it very easy. When you're writing a section about academia, it's very easy to do that and come back out. So I'm going to click on the home button here. The home button always takes you back to this main view. So wherever you are, that doesn't get stuck. So one of the other things I want to show you about the codes is that you can move these around. So by default in Quirkos, I find it really, I have a very kind of geographical sense of where my codes are. And I start kind of putting things kind of close to each other when they're about kind of things. Shannon, I'm going to show the overlap option in a minute. It's not going to work very well until I've done a bit more coding and work, I'm afraid. But here the codes are kind of, to me, it makes sense that they're here. We may also have codes that are similar color for similar topics and themes, but we can also create hierarchies too. So within academia, we might have, so I can also right click anywhere on the canvas to create a new code or theme without having to put a piece of text in it to start. So I'm going to create a new empty code and I'm going to call it research, and create another one called teaching. And I'm going to say that these are basically two activities that come under the umbrella of academia. I mean, they come under the umbrella of other things as well. But anyway, for now, I'm going to say that research and teaching are subcategories of academia. So I can drag and drop them onto the academia bubble. It's now got this white line over it. When I hover the mouse over, it shows me these codes. They're tiny at the moment because I've not put anything in them. But if I double click, it shows me everything which is in academia. I could say, oh, it's not really saying whether this is about research or teaching. But anyway, I could put it on, add it to the research bubble here. And I could add this one to the training bubble here. So if I want to recode and modify my codes, make things more specific, make things more vague, because we can merge things in this view as well, we can work with that here. So this makes it very powerful to, it's that process which always happens about kind of changing your mind about how specific or how vague your codes and themes need to be as you kind of go on and develop them through different iterations. So you're kind of open and axle coding and whatever kind of different approach that you have. So subcategories, we have very easy, just drag and drop on there. If you change your mind, if I want to pull research out, okay, that's important enough, it needs to be a top level code, I just pull and drag it out like that. Okay, so The one other kind of aspect of analysis I want to show you is the memos. So this is kind of a space for reflexive writing. There's a little button here which opens the memo column. And here we can, just make this a bit bigger since it's been work on this for a while. Yeah, we can zoom in and out and move around on this. But here, so if we were going to do something like IPA, in vivo coding, line by line coding, or if we just want to use this for our own reflexive comments, the memos is a really great way to do that. So I'm going to drag and drop this piece of text here, and I'm actually just going to have a comment to myself. I'm going to drop it onto the memo column and add a little note about that piece of text. I'm going to say, yeah, this person really has lots of jokes. They're a bit of a joker. They have a lot of that going on there. So that's kind of like his first joke, but yeah, there's going to be many more in this source. So that's collapsed now. I can pull it up. And basically now anywhere where I see this piece of text, if it's coded somewhere, I'll have the memo attached to it. And as I read through, I can have the memo column open and I can read kind of my own iterative comments. If you're collaborating, this is a great space to have a discussion. You can see that that's D. Turner who's talked about this comment here. So yeah, any piece of text you can add multiple memos to, finally getting to the point. But if you're doing an approach like IPA or line by line coding, you can use it in a more useful way. Select a piece of text, add a comment here, and then go through later, use that to select that text, and then you can, you can actually, since that text is now selected by clicking on the memo, drag and drop that onto, yeah, finally he was talking about research, good. So you can use that as a process kind of before creating your codes, if that's how you want to work. Okay, so that's been a kind of very brief kind of going over the coding process. The last thing I'm going to do, to let me know if you've got any questions about that, is just show you that you don't have to have this bubble view. There's also a list view, which is kind of a lot more similar to what you'd find in other software. We've got this, oh yeah, we moved that out there, didn't we? You've got kind of nested subcategories, and you've got kind of like a more of a kind of traditional scrollable list. Okay, we don't have very many codes here. If you have a lot of codes and a lot that are pulled out, then this works in the same way, has the same menu options, but it just means it's represented in a long list rather than the bubbles. But what can I say? I like the bubbles. If you also get to the stage there are a lot of codes, you can arrange them in various ways. So you can have them in a grid kind of format here. You can arrange them in alphabetical order or in terms of size. So it can help you kind of manage when you get lots and lots of them. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? I like the bubbles. I like the bubbles. Okay. So any quick questions about coding before I kind of cheat and show a little bit more about when you've got a little bit further into the coding process?
There's one in the chat, Daniel.
Yeah, I've said to Shannon, I'm just going to cover that when I'm going to cover what the overlap option does when we get to when we actually have some more coding. So I'm going to show that. I'll show that right now. Okay, so let's click here on yeah, so Quirkos has autosave, I should mention. So whether you're working offline or online, so yeah, after each action, save is pressed for you to make it super hard to lose your work. I don't need to do anything now to go to a different project. When I come back, it will be in exactly the same place. And if I go to a different device, it's in exactly this state. If I'm collaborating with someone else, it's in exactly the same place. So I'm going to go to projects here. And now I'm going to go and find one of Kathy's projects where she's actually done a bit more coding. I think this one. Because it will show a lot of this a lot more. Good, yeah, that's the one I wanted. Great. So now this project here, okay, now we've got loads of codes, great. And we've got certain ones, vulnerabilities, which have got lots of coding at the top level, and also lots of subcodes. And as you can see, if we kind of start scrolling through the text here, Kathy's done a great job with memos, using this for her own kind of notes and comments, her own kind of reflexive writing. And as we scroll through the source here, we can see all the different things that she's been coding about. And that's the end. And again, we can go through the tabs here to look through the different sources. So now, for example, if I double click on the vulnerabilities code, this is the biggest. So this is now showing us everything which is under here. We've got these subcategories, these subcategories. If I click on just self-belief, it will show me all of the codes for self-belief. And I can tick to select all those and copy those out. Maybe I want everything that's about self-belief and denial. But there's another view which I'll show you right now, which allows you to do that. So the overlap view, what this does is look to every time a piece of text has been coded to more than one code. For example, here, this piece of text it's unsurprising. It's about memory, which is kind of a meta category. It's also about vulnerability. So an unsurprising vulnerability. And every time this happens, Quirkos counts that so that it can visualize it for you. So if I now right click on vulnerabilities and choose the overlap view here, what this does, okay, the way I have it zoomed in for you guys is a bit of a mess, but at the top, this is the vulnerabilities code we're looking at. And this is now kind of a pyramid. And the further down the bottom we get, the less overlap there is. So these codes at the bottom overlap once. There's one thing where, actually, yeah, wow, it's surprising. There's only one comment which is about vulnerabilities and gender. So that's kind of interesting. So clicking on that will show us that. But this shows a code and another one. So where overlaps with vulnerabilities and gender, it shows up there. So memo A, so this is a code that Kathy has used for her kind of own reflexive writing. So I'm just going to look at vulnerabilities which are unsurprising because we saw something with that as well. Okay, it's turned off gender as well. So now this is showing me all the codes, the 11 codes which are about vulnerabilities and were unsurprising. And depending how your codes and your themes are, it might be really interesting to see what connections are. Sometimes it's really surprising. I mean, literally in this case, not, but we could look at vulnerabilities and we can look at students being difficult. I'm surprised by that. It kind of makes sense, but actually that's interesting. So again, Quirkos is encouraging me to go back to the text and read those quotes. So I can look through everybody's sources now and see, why is everybody saying that students are difficult? And why does that create vulnerabilities for these people in their career? And I can look through here and yes, actually, yes, something everybody's talking about. Like Jackie talks about it. Jackie talks about it a lot. Okay. Danny talks about it. Roger, Caroline, David. So that's David talks about it a lot. Okay, that's really interesting too. So going through that, and then I don't have the time now, but to actually read the text would start to develop maybe a higher level theme from that, or a really interesting thing that I want to show and talk about in the paper. So that's what the overlap does. It looks at every time a code overlaps with another code. Now, if you're only using a couple of codes and you're not doing any text overlap, it won't show very much. But certainly, usually for a kind of first pass coding approach anyway, it's really useful to see what comes from that. So press the home button to go back to the main view. And now the next thing that I want to show you is the queries. So if you remember before, we created with this little cog button here, properties for each of our sources. So we described, okay, this project has slightly different ones. We don't have age, but we have gender, we have location, we have discipline, summary with, okay. And then some meta categories as well that Kathy's used. So what I could do is I could use those to filter and sort the data and see things from particular points of view. So for example, maybe I want to look and see, let's look at location. Let's see the results of everyone from England by the filter. Okay, and now these are the results just from the sources which we said were from England. And it's in descending order. So the thing that's kind of most that comes at the top here is vulnerabilities is the thing that most people in this group were talking about. But actually, they were talking about that in the whole project anyway. So we've got things from Jackie, from Danny and Roger, so they must have all been from England. And we can go through and we can read. Maybe there's something interesting about the expectations of people in England, and we want to put all of that together. But we can also split the view here with this split button here, and we can do another query like this side by side. So if we now choose a different location here, we choose Scotland. No, let's choose Australia. That one's super interesting. Okay. This is one that pops out for me. When we look at the differences between what people are talking about in Australia and England, most of the stuff is pretty similar, except for this top one here, training gap. This is the second most commonly used code in the group of people from England. But where does it appear in Australia? Like way down here, 6. And what happens when you start to actually go through and read this text side by side is you see that there is such a difference in how the academics in England talk about. There's a huge training gap. There's not a lot of training and resources provided for the teachers, the educators, but that doesn't seem to be much of a problem in Australia. Now, that's only my kind of only quick reading. I'm not saying that this is a like a major finding. I'm not trying to cause any battles between different academic landscapes here. But that, for me, that was one of the things that popped up here. I don't want to rely on the fact just that there's more codes in one than the other, because there'll be a different number of people here. But when you start to look through and actually read the text, you do see that there's clearly a difference in these countries about how they provide training for staff. And it's something that really kind of popped out for that. So again, here, we can export all of these. So it would be great to, in our document here, maybe I don't need all of them, so I could turn some of them off, but to select all of the codes which are about the training gap in England. We'll copy those, put them into our document, and we can say people in England had a huge training gap. And this is pretty rough. I'm going to have to go through and put a little bit more context around my paper here. But I can also then choose everything which is just from the left side. Sorry, the right side, and then copy that and put it in, say, but in contrast, the people in Australia, yada, yada, yada. And then, so it's designed to kind of help you make it easy to write up. So some of the other ways which help you to write up, I'm only going to do another 5 minutes, so there'll be tons of time for questions. The export options we have here, so you can export your sources as a Word document. This basically gives you the text, your transcripts back out with these color-coded highlights in them. So it's really lovely to kind of print, take away from the computer and read again, to share with someone else that doesn't have the software, like a supervisor or a colleague. But also just to kind of have a snapshot sometimes of a particular part of the coding process. There's also the option here to create a report. And the report basically has a lot of detailed information about the project, all the different people that worked and collaborated on it, because you can do live real-time collaboration with Quirkos. So you can see the differences between different people who are coding. And you can see, okay, so this project, just Kathy was involved in coding. And we've got tables here for summaries. We've got visualizations which are customizable of the codes and the canvases. We've got graphs here of the different properties in there. And then we've got the actual text here, organized in different ways. And we can customize how we want this to look, and then print it in, or save it as PDF. And we've got it in exactly the right way we want to. So this is a great kind of option for kind of your appendices or sharing with the supervisors. Is often this is what they're after and what they're looking for. But there's lots of ways to customize this and make sure it's showing all the different things that you want. So that's the basics of working with Quirkos. There are plenty of other little things which I didn't show. So there's a word cloud, an interactive word cloud that you can use. There's text search. There's a quick filter for searches here. So if you can't find the vulnerabilities one, you start typing it. Great, there it is. There's vulnerabilities code. There's a live built-in chat. So if you are collaborating with people, you can just type at the same time. And unlike a lot of the other qualitative software, the collaboration is live. There's no kind of checking out a project and merging. It all happens identically at the same time. You can do it interactively, and there's no limits to the collaboration either. It's not an optional extra. You can share with as many different people as you like, as many different projects as you like. It's all included as part of Quirkos Cloud. So that's, as a very kind of brief overview, those are the basics of Quirkos. So yeah, so we've got a good 10 minutes or so for questions and queries. And do let me know if there's anything which I went over too fast and you'd like to see again, or if you've got any questions about anything else which I didn't show that we'd like to show, or differences between other software. How does Quirkos compare in pricing to other qualitative data tools? Okay, that's a good question. Roughly, Quirkos is about half the price of the others. We did have like a comparison table somewhere. I can't remember which page it's on. So, for example, the student license starts about $5 a month for the cloud version. We also have the offline version, that's $69. That's for a lifetime license. You'll find that's probably about half the price of a 2 or 3 year license of the student version, which is limited also, of MaxQDA, Atlas TI, or NVivo. Our cloud version is a little cheaper than Deduce. We also have discounts, not just for students, but academic and education, public sector, and commercial rates as well. And there are discounts for buying for the whole year. Yeah, so we don't have the comparison table up at the moment, but it's it's cheaper. What I would say is that I'm not saying that the other software is better value. It depends what you want to do with it. So the other software, for example, would do video and audio editing and has a lot more statistical data in it. I mean, I didn't show it, but you can export the data to CSV files. So you can bring that into SPSS or R or Excel if you want to do quantitative stuff. We don't have any quantitative features in there. But then what we think is that Quirkos is simpler and easier to learn because of that. I've pretty much shown you today everything you need to do like a whole qualitative analysis through the course of your project. So it depends what you need, but definitely Quirkos starts pretty cheap. And although there's also kind of with the cloud version an unlimited number of projects and storage and so on. So Louise asks, what's the best contact for students seeking to purchase this software? Is there a web-based link, email, or specific representative?
So Thank you. I know there probably is on the website, but sometimes there's a preferred, and sometimes students, I mean, I'm also, sometimes I can't find things. And I thought if I were going to try to give something that would be the most likely to succeed in terms of winning them over, maybe there's a best one. So I thought if I asked, no, thank you.
It's a good question. It's a good question, Louise. Yeah. No, so you can order straight from the website. So students, it's the same sign up process for students as well. We don't have any kind of resellers. It's not through any third party. So everything happens direct with us. If you just go to the student page to register for the trial, you get 14 days free. The only difference with the student registration is that you need to upload a student ID when you sign up.
That's good. Otherwise, you might have unscrupulous types.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a student of life.
Absolutely. I mean, we're always if you've got questions like that, always email support@quirkos.com, because there are always things like, there are people who are doing they're just their own little kind of like neighborhood project. They're not like an NGO or anything like that. We have loads of people doing little kind of projects like that, and we'll always give them a discounted rate, but obviously they won't kind of technically, qualify for anything. So,
Thank you.
So, no problem, Louise. That's great. Shannon says, wonderful, very excited about using this tool for my dissertation research. Great, hope it helps. If you've got any questions, email support@quirkos.com as well. We have loads of tutorials and video tutorials on the website. You don't need to register to see any of our support materials and manuals and things, but also email us. Like all our support staff have done qualitative research before, so we can help you not just with the technical side of it. Hero says, can PDFs be uploaded to Quirkos? I'm hoping to use it for literature review. Yes, absolutely. You can upload PDFs directly as well. The only restriction is the really old PDFs, which are just terrible scans rather than an actual kind of e-copy. Those aren't supported at the moment, but if you've got a tool like Adobe Acrobat, you can pull them in. Most PDFs from the last like 30 years will work with that. Tragina says, very useful presentation. Thank you, Dan. You're welcome. Caroline says, is the software only downloadable cloud installation, or can I pay $10 US more for a CD DVD? So we do, we've never had a CD DVD, but we can send you a copy on a USB stick. We've got mini USB sticks that go in the post as well. So yes, but yeah, it's actually, I think it's $15, I'm afraid, with postage. We can send you a USB stick as well. Lama asks, very interesting indeed, does it support multiple languages? Yes, so Quirkos supports basically any language your computer does. So that includes left to right, right to left, Japanese, Chinese, simplified Chinese, pretty much everything. The languages we have for the interface at the moment are a bit limited, i.e. the translations for the buttons. So that's only currently available in English, French, German, Portuguese, Spanish. But we're hoping to kind of add more of those too. There's not a lot of different languages for the support materials, although we're working on that as well. But for the sources of data and for what you call your codes or any of your reflexive text, you can support any language as well as a mix as well. So if you could have literally Arabic and English within the same source, and that's not a problem for Quirkos. And Caroline also asks, since non-cloud version sits on a USB stick, is Quirkos available as a portable app sitting on the USB stick? Yes, it is. It runs from a portable app on the USB stick, but the license is tied to a particular computer. So it's actually a real pain to take to different places. So that makes it easy from an installation point of view. We have a lot of people who use it as a portable app because their IT departments won't let them install anything on their computer, or at least the process of doing so is apparently just too problematic. Another reason people love the web app. But yes, you can run it from a USB stick as long as you're kind of using the same computer or just a couple of computers. Carol asked, how would you use this for IPA? So for the IPA, I showed a little bit about the approach using the memos. So I would, because IPA tends to be kind of line by line, start doing too deep at IPA on this at the moment. I would take the text for this line. I would say, the series she gave students some starter questions. Oh, this is a summary. Yeah, and I would say starter questions. And then I would go through using the memos. And then when I'd gone through and done that, I would get to the stage of actually reading through my own kind of comments here, memos, and I would use those to start creating codes and themes from there. So depending on your kind of IPA approach, that would be the rough kind of method. Hope that helps a little bit. These have been great questions. Has anyone else got anything else? In my view, I can't see hands up, I'm afraid. So if you've got if you've got anything and you just want to kind of ask, yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Daniel. I have a question. As far as saving your work, where is that feature on there, or does the software does it for you?
So the software does it for you. So it's saving, it basically is pressing save for you after each action. So if you add something to a code, can't do it now. It's press save. This is the same if you're working with the web app or the desktop app that's saved on your own computer. However, you can also, there's a save as here. So if you want to kind of create a snapshot or a backup at any point, you can click the save as here and you can copy the project under another name so you can keep going in that way. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so in the cloud, if you sign in and use the cloud service, the data is saved on our encrypted servers. And we have a network of them across the world, so that they don't cross borders that data protection doesn't allow. So we have a UK one, an EU one in Singapore, one in Canada, one in the States. If you're using the desktop app, can work in cloud and offline mode. If you're using offline mode, that obviously only stores on your own computer. So the data doesn't go anywhere. We also don't collect any kind of, I think we're the only software company that doesn't collect any kind of analytics. So we don't know when we're using your, if you use the software or not, what you're using it for. It's entirely private and it's entirely offline. How would you share with supervisors? Can this be done live? Yeah, absolutely. So if supervisors don't have an account, they can use the trial. And what you would do is you just go to your projects here and you just invite new people. You can choose whether you want to allow your supervisor to edit your project or not, or just give them read-only access. And you just put in their email address here. And if they have a Quirkos account, they will see popped up in the Shared With Me tab, a project that's from you. And then they can look at that live and you can work with them like that. If you don't want to work live like that, you can also do any of the export options here. So you can share a report, you can share the Word documents coded with this line-by-line coding. And you can also share, if they use a different qualitative software package, Quirkos supports the REFI QDA exchange standard, which is supported by pretty much all the other software packages. So you can create that and share with them too. Yeah, and as Caroline says, that's really important for dissertation committees as well. It depends. Like in my experience, some of them want to see all the detail of your coding, and some are not that bothered. But it depends. Yeah, who your supervisors are and yeah, who's looking through your thesis and so on. It's also great to teach like this. I mean, we have lots of people who now teach qualitative analysis, not specifically Quirkos, but because you can show kind of live and people can chip in and do stuff together, it's really great to do. It's like, it's so difficult to teach students what qualitative analysis is, like what codes and topics and themes look like. And so it's the collaboration thing is a really good way to teach as well. We have quite a lot of people who have, like 30 or 40 people at once working on little example projects, so they can all kind of see and collaborate and work together. So Adam, I think we're pretty much out of time, eh? How are we doing here?
Yeah,
So,
there's a few more minutes in case anybody has other questions.
Great.
But yeah, it's pretty close to the end. I think you guys did great on time.
Thanks. Yeah, so last chance. Oh, the last thing I should say, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to put my email in the chat as well. If you have any queries that you suddenly think of, do drop me an email. You can also email support.
That's very intrepid of you. Don't you think it's dangerous to do that?
I think, well, in this forum, I think it's pretty good. My email address is pretty public anyway.
Okay, thank you for being so brave.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, I've been coming to TQR conferences for like 6 years. I know this is like free and online, but it's one of the most lovely and supportive groups and organizations and conferences that I take part in. So yeah, I'm pretty happy putting my email out there. Lama just asked at the end, I may have missed this, but does it have a function similar to the framework matrices in NVivo with the auto-populate option? No, it doesn't have anything quite like that, I'm afraid. There are some ways that you can use the queries to get some kind of similar outputs like that. And you can also use the CSV exports. That's the kind of, and bring the data into Excel and create a lot of tables and matrices like that within Excel with the data. But at the moment, there's nothing quite like that that's built into the software, I'm afraid. No problem. Okay, looks like it. that's the last question.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan. We appreciate your time. You're
Thank you.
always welcome back. Hopefully we can get you back to Florida soon.
Love it. Love it. And
And
thank
for
you also, Adam, for all the work you do for these conferences and for TQR through the year. You're like MVP. And yeah, and thanks also to Ron as well for keeping this such a wonderful, and the whole team, such a wonderful thing running. And I'm hoping he's feeling better really soon.
Thank you so much. And for everybody still in the room, we'll have a recording to this posted on our conference website. And we'll also, when we send our post-conference email out, we'll be sure to include the link to this as well. So if you missed anything, you can watch it later and catch up.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Great questions
Thank you
today.
all. See you all in the breakout rooms later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.